Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Music Spectrum podcast. My name is Ron Glista, and I got another good friend of mine as a guest tonight, Mr. JG, or as we refer to him, Jason Gonzales. Jason, how you doing tonight?
Good, Ron. How's it going, man? Thanks for
I'm
having
doing,
me.
hey, I'm doing fantastic. Glad you can jump on. It's always good to have friends on, and you're the number two guest that I have going on here. This is actually my third episode right now on my podcast, so glad you're able to join me. Jason and I, we've known each other for what, maybe a year or two now, something like
Yeah,
that, and we
yeah.
met
I'd say it's going on 2 years, right?
we went through mutual friends. So we have a lot in common. That's why I wanted to have JG on here tonight. So JG, you want to let me know a little bit about yourself? You know, wife, kids, married, how long, any of that good stuff?
Yeah. I have a wife, Stephanie. We've been married 20 years this past November.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah, it was a big one. Unfortunately, we couldn't do much. I was actually with my job covering the election, the day after the election. So, uh, 20 wasn't very special for her and I together, but hopefully next year when everything settles, we'll be able to celebrate 21 the way we should have celebrated 20. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
we met at college, and now we have two boys, Hunter and Noah. Noah being the same age as Aaron, your boy Ron. So
Yep.
um, yeah.
Cool. Cool. Um, you know, and I know our buddy Mike likes to make fun of, not make fun of, but does a good impersonation of where you work. So, what's the name of that TV station that you work at?
Yeah, it's WPXI TV in Pittsburgh,
WPXI
Pennsylvania.
TV in Pittsburgh. Jason or JG is actually a cameraman, correct?
That's
Like,
right. Yeah.
like behind the scenes cameraman. So he's not the, great personality you might see on the evening news or anything like that. He's capturing all the good stuff through his camera and everything. So
Yeah, I like it. Like to keep the low profile behind the camera and make the reporters look good.
that's cool. How long have you been doing that?
A little over 21 years, 22 years. I
No
started at
shit.
WYTV actually here in Youngstown. I went to Westminster College, and it was my senior year, Christmas break. I decided to just go over to WYTV and see if they needed any help with anything. Basically, just getting my foot in the door. And less than 2 months later, they hired me uh, as a photographer. So I was pretty lucky to have a job, set up and where I was working before I even graduated in the field that I went to school for. So yeah, felt pretty lucky about that. Stayed in Youngstown for a couple years, and then I've been in Pittsburgh ever since. So 19 years in Pittsburgh.
Well, that's cool. So if you're in Pittsburgh, are you affiliated with the sports teams in Pittsburgh?
Uh,
I
yeah,
should
I'm,
say,
I'm not
are you a Steelers fan? Are you a Penguins fan? Are you a Pirates fan? Are you, a fan of the Ohio teams?
a little bit of both. I mean, I like the Pirates. I'm not a fan of the Steelers. I love the Penguins. So basically, all the pro sports teams in Pittsburgh except the Steelers.
So if you're not
And
a Steelers fan, then what NFL team do you like?
and I don't really have an allegiance to any of them.
Okay.
It's kind of like uh, as a kid growing up, I guess it was like the Chicago Bears, and then I love Peyton Manning. I tend to root for like players more than
Okay.
anything.
That's cool. That's how a lot of the kids are these days. Nobody really has, not nobody, but a lot of the kids don't have a favorite team. They might have favorite players that they like or they follow or whatever. And because that certain player plays for a certain team, that's their favorite team because they like that certain player. So I get that.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool,
It's
man.
kind of I think that can really relate to music too. Like, um, I think that's why so many people like gravitate to like certain artists. It's like this allegiance, and it's like wearing those colors of that team that brings everyone together. I think like with an artist, it's really the same way, like people are so passionate about that artist or, another artist that it's almost like ingrained in them, and that's they bleed whatever artist it is.
Well, that's a good segue right there. Thank you, Jason. You're setting
Yeah.
me up for this conversation. I love this, man. So, what
Yeah.
artist or musician do you bleed their colors or you bleed their music for? Who I could tell by on the Zoom we're watching here. I could see what's on your hat right there. But who's your band that you like to go to?
Yeah, the number one easily is Dave Matthews Band. Um, that's just my wife and I. We're crazy about it. We go at least probably 4 or 5 concerts a year. We travel. We've been kind of all over the country to see him, and it never gets old. It really doesn't. Like every show's different. That just that feel of that live show is you can't really duplicate it with anything else. And I think Dave Matthews Band is, you know, one of the best at doing it ever. Just the energy that the whole band brings, is just remarkable. I was always like just amazed to see like, a violin or, just these like classical instruments that they've turned into, blues and rock and just, all these different genres of music just that meld together to make one awesome sound. It's always been, amazing to me.
So what originally turned you on to their music? Was it somebody or another band, or did you hear them on the radio, or what turned you on to Dave Matthews?
It was absolutely a guy that I met in college who to this day is one of my best friends ever. Um, his name was Jay, and I was like a big blues traveler guy, listening like my freshman year of college. And, getting to know Jay was always like, hey man, you got to check out, if you like blues, you should listen to, this band, Dave Matthews Band. And, he gave me like the CD at the time, and the rest was history. I was hooked.
Well, that's cool.
And Jay's actually throughout the years, like he's always like that go-to guy for me, that if there's like this young up and coming band or a band that, isn't so mainstream that, um, he just is loving and listening to, he always makes a suggestion to me, and he's never steered me wrong. There's been other bands, he knows kind of like what I'm listening to, and he makes great suggestions. But yeah, it was my buddy Jay that really turned me on to Dave.
See, that's a good friend to have, because if you have a good friend that knows your taste in music and knows your taste in other things, whatever that other things may be, but especially in music, he turns you on to something, you can trust him, with whatever suggestions he's shooting your way. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and it's so much about just like, the feeling. Music's all about feeling and making you happy, or, you know, if you're sad at the time, or, you're falling in love with a girl, or you're in lust with a girl, or, angry, excited, all those things like just with music kind of come together. And that's the beauty of music, really.
So you said that you've traveled to see them and you've seen them obviously multiple times. Two-part question here. How many times have you seen Dave Matthews in concert, if you can remember? And part two is, where's the furthest you've traveled out of the state of Ohio to go and see them?
Well, we really stopped and lost count of how many times we've seen them, but it's approaching 100, easily 100 shows.
Get the
And
hell
it's
out of
been,
here.
yeah, it's been since 1994. The first time was at the Horde Festival. They were like on a side stage at the Horde Festival.
Where was that at?
That was in Pittsburgh at
Okay.
Star Lake Amphitheater at the time, which is actually now being named basically Star Lake
I
again.
saw that. You know
Did
what?
you
Not
see
to get
that?
off topic, but kudos to them for changing the name back to Star Lake.
Yeah, yeah, that's what everyone knew it as anyway. So like, why not embrace, the history and the past, and so yeah,
Absolutely.
That's I saw him, yeah, on a side stage there, and really didn't even know who he was at that time. And that's um, really the first time. And ever since, my wife and I, like I said, anywhere between 2 and 5 shows a year, since the late '90s that we had been going to see him. Um, the furthest I've seen him actually was I was out in Colorado at Red Rocks for my buddy's wedding.
No way.
Yeah, and although we didn't like get inside there, like Red Rocks, we were able to get near it, and we listened like, through just, being in the parking lot. Like it was weird like how we just like stumbled upon it basically. Like I didn't even know he was out there when I was out there because I was so focused on this wedding and you know, but yeah, we like it was funny. So I mean, I guess you could say that's the furthest.
Now, did you get a chance to go into Red Rocks, or have you seen the inside of that venue before?
Yeah, not that night, but my buddy who lives in Denver, we've been out there, to visit him before, and we've walked around in that venue, and it's amazing.
It
It's
looks awesome. I've only
unbelievable.
seen pictures and some videos of some bands that have played there, and that's on one of my bucket list, if you want to call it that. One of the
Yeah,
places I would love to go see one of my favorite bands is there because that venue just looks so awesome.
yeah, it's just it is amazing. You can be like at the top of, you know, the seats, and somebody could be down on the stage and basically whispering, and you can hear them the whole way up, you know, I don't know how many hundreds of feet it is up to the top of the venue, but you can hear like the person on the stage like just talking at a normal tone. Like it's amazing. The
Wow.
acoustics are amazing there. Yeah.
That looks really cool. I mean, like I said, I've seen pictures and seen a couple videos and stuff, and I would definitely like to check out that place one time. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
cool. So you sent me a list of some other likes or influences of bands, and I got to say I like your list that you sent me. Um, Besides
It's all
Dave
over the
Matthews
board.
Band, what other artist kind of like caught your attention over the years that you've caught on to and wanted to listen to more of their music?
There's so many of them really, like I said, it's about the feeling that you're feeling with that music at the time, and I'm all over the board. I love rap. It's like different parts of your upbringing and different times of your life. You kind of like gravitate to different things, right? Like in high school, my one buddy, he was really into big speakers and stuff. So he tricked out his, little hatchback car with these huge like JBL speakers. So back in high school, we would drive around, listening to like Dr. Dre and Snoop and, Bone Thugs and Harmony, like all these, hard, loud rap bands. Like the more bass, the better.
Oh man, I love it.
Yeah. So, like that. And then you go to college, and there's just different times of your life where you just experience, I think, different music. Like college, you walking into a fraternity house, my goodness, you heard every room playing something different, whether it's Garth Brooks in the one room and Nine Inch Nails in another room, or Bob Marley in another room, like Led Zeppelin in another room. It's just, you kind of got a feel for everything. And um, so I think like all those bands, like, I don't really have like a certain genre that I listen to, like specifically. I'm really all over the board. I appreciate like the greatness, and I just love like when people like rock out, man, and jam and just, like just when you feel it, when you feel good music, it hits you in a different way. And whether that's, rap or polka, I mean, so much of music, I think, is also like about somebody's heritage, like think about it. Like, there's so many like it defines people. It defines like who they are, like ancestrally, if that's a word.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, it's funny you say that, because how you said that Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, you can hear a song now on the radio, or if you're playing on whatever device you're playing on, and you hear Snoop Dogg or Dr. Dre. What does that do to you? That takes you right back in time to you were in high school, and all those memories come flowing back, don't they?
Absolutely. Yeah. No doubt. Yeah. Like I can think of like, YMCA junior high dances, here in like, I don't know, Europe and Winger and George Michael and like all these like, different people back in the 80s, Whitney Houston, Bon Jovi. And it was like the whole time during the dance, you kind of just like hung out with the guys, but then like when that final song was coming where you had to like build the courage up to go ask a girl to, to dance, it's like that kind of feeling, like you still hear that song, like you're saying, and it could like just bring back that small little memory, like Boxcar Willie and Willie Nelson, those guys. I like if every time I hear them, I think, my dad like sitting around the dinner table as I was a young child, and he would put on, his record player and play those kind of records, while we were eating dinner. And it was just, yeah, it's that music again. It's all about that feeling and how it makes you feel and how it, how you identify with it.
You put that perfectly. I was just talking to my dad tonight. What's up, Noah? I see you hiding there in the background.
Yeah, he did. Noah just came down. He's probably interested. Can't wait to hear the final podcast.
That's all right.
He's a big music kid. I mean, he's like a jukebox. I don't know how he knows all the lyrics to like all these songs, but it
I could
is.
tell you how he knows it. He knows it from you and Steph.
Yeah,
My son Aaron is the exact same way. He listens to what I listen to or what Jennifer listens to, and he picks up. Aaron couldn't tell you anything of the newer music that's playing today because he doesn't listen to it. He has no idea what's out there or what's going on. But I could put on Sam Cooke on the radio on my phone, or I could put in Metallica, and he can name the artist, name the song, sometimes even the album that it's on. And that
yeah,
makes me proud because it's like, yes, I'm teaching you, in my opinion, the right way of music. Learn everything, learn all the genres of music. Don't just like what the new stuff is. Learn from the older bands and the older artists and what they brought to the table because that's what influenced all these newer musicians that are out now.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It's a proud dad moment when I put on Dave and hear him in the back of the car singing along. I'm like, yeah, it makes you feel good, man.
That's cool. Yeah, like I said, you talk about Willie Nelson with your dad. I just had a conversation with my dad. I remember he had a maroon and white covered top Oldsmobile 98, big, huge boat car. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And when we used to ride around with him, a lot of the music that he would play would be like Don McLean, Van Morrison, the Beach Boys, things like that. And every time I hear one of those songs, that takes me right back to being in that car and driving around and going to different places with him. And he actually took me to a Beach Boys concert. They played at the Canfield Fair in 1988. I was like 10 or 11 years old at the time. And what's funny is I knew every single song that they sang, but I wasn't like everybody else in the crowd. I was kind of sitting in my seat, all reserved, like I don't want to show this emotion to all these strangers. And my dad and my stepmom were with me, and my sister. And my dad's like, "You can get up and sing and dance if you want." And I'm like, "Nah," like I'm all shy, but my
yeah,
feet are tapping to the ground and my lips are moving to the music, but I'm not getting out and just letting it go. Nowadays, you take me to a concert, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm running all over the place, yelling and screaming and enjoying myself because that's what the music's about.
absolutely. Yeah,
That's cool, man. I'm glad you brought up that old story about your dad because that made me think about what I just talked to my dad today about music and things like that from my past as well. So cool.
that's great. I'm sure, like, I bet you can still smell that car too, like the
Oh
way
yeah,
it smelled, and like you hear the music, and it, like you said, it takes you right back to that. that time.
Absolutely. My grandpa at the time had a big old Ford truck. Used to use it on the farm that they have at my grandparents' land, and I remember in the ashtray he would open it up and he would have Big Red chewing gum, that cinnamon stuff, and he would also listen to like Willie Nelson and older country artists like that. And that's what made me think when you put Willie Nelson on your list of, bands or artists that you like, that took me back to that time too, because anytime I would be out in the farm and driving around in his truck, he'd
Mhm.
reach down and that was his gum, was the Big Red cinnamon stuff. And he's like, "You want some of this?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I tried it for the first time. I thought my tongue was on fire.
Right.
And but when you mentioned Willie Nelson, that's what made me think back to that time too. But like I said, it's just, to me, it's so cool how you can listen to a song and it just takes you back to a certain place and time. It baffles me, but I love it at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, it is amazing.
So you have on here, you already mentioned a couple: Willie Nelson, Dave Matthews Band, Dr. Dre, Garth Brooks, a couple of the other ones. Tell me a little bit about your side of the story of why you started liking these guys or whatever. Led Zeppelin, Tom Petty, Grateful Dead.
Again, it really started in college for me with a lot of those bands like Zeppelin. It was not something my dad was listening to. It definitely wasn't really popular, or at least with the crowd that I ran around, it wasn't popular in college. So I started getting into it in college,
Okay.
with the people I was hanging around, again, introducing you to that music. And that's really what music does too. It's like so powerful. It's how people almost identify you as, like, individually or in a group, like it's how they judge you, it's how they see you. Like whoever, you're following, you're almost categorized a certain way, right?
I agree. I agree
Yeah.
because I know the
So
plenty of times you and I have sat down with our wives and with the Carquito family and with the Mariani family and stuff, and the karaoke machine busts out. There's certain people you look at and you're expecting them to sing a certain song because that's their artist or their band that they like, right?
yeah, yeah,
Not,
yeah.
not, not to put you on the spot with all the Zach Brown band stuff that you're supposed to sing for us, but
Yeah, that's another guy. I don't know, like, I think Garth really like started the whole country thing for me. Like that guy's he's got to be on the Mount Rushmore of any musician, in my opinion. Like what he how he made like country music so mainstream, uh, is just remarkable. It's like same way like, Michael Jackson made pop, so popular. It's just those guys can't be touched, and what they've done for their genre of music, I think, is, you know, it's unmatched. So like Garth, obviously just listening to him and seeing that guy running around on stage and in concert, just being a wild man, like singing these songs that, 90,000 people were singing along with them. It, it it just makes you like, it opens you up to like start exploring other, you know, people, other musicians in those genres. And that's kind of what like Zach Brown, I think, you know, he came obviously because of listening to Garth. If I didn't ever listen to Garth, I don't think I would ever have heard of Zach Brown band.
oh, I agree. And you mentioned the Garth Brooks concerts and stuff. When I was in high school, junior, senior year or something, he came to Pittsburgh and he played, I don't know if it was the Mellon Arena or whatever. And I remember being at, I don't know if it was Giant Eagle in Austintown, when you used to have to go to a Ticketmaster place and stand in line and buy
Yeah,
tickets. I remember standing in line and I'm like, okay, it's 10 o'clock, they're going on sale. And within 2 minutes, like the first show is sold out, but they're adding more. I'm thinking, holy shit.
yeah,
It's only been 5 minutes and they've already sold out one. Like, how many people are trying to see this guy right now? And I think he ended up putting on like 5 or 7 shows over a week span and just being
yeah.
in Pittsburgh. And that just
Man,
baffled me because you don't see that anymore.
no. no. It was unheard of. Like his popularity was unbelievable, like, and it still is really, I think. He still fills up those arenas with 100,000 people now, easily.
Yeah,
But
I would agree
yeah,
with
Zach Brown, just getting back to him real quick. He opened for Dave Matthews Band at Dave's. It was actually at PNC Park. It was a show at PNC Park, and Zach Brown was also one of the. Like I said, I don't know if he was considered a headliner also of that, but he opened before Dave, and his live concerts are amazing too. Like, and again, this is like this country guy, but I'll never forget he closed with a Rage Against the Machine cover,
yes.
and
Yes, I've seen that on his set list before.
yeah,
You
it's
know,
it's crazy. Like, so he can get twangy and you know do all that, and he can sing these ballads, but then he can also like just rock the shit out of it with a Rage Against the Machine song, and that's what's pretty amazing about him too.
well, the last time we've taken Aaron to see Zach Brown two or three times, I think, and I always try to pull up their set lists of where they played at the handful of times before they come to Pittsburgh, where we've seen them at
Yeah.
Star Lake. And the last time we saw them, they were alternating closing songs. One of them was my band Metallica, Enter Sandman, and the
Hmm.
other one they were ending with Prince, Let's Go Crazy. Now,
Yeah.
how can you get from one spectrum of the music to the other from going from Prince to Metallica? That just shows you how good of musicians they truly are, that they can play from one of those guys to the other. You know,
Yeah. 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 Like those guys, I think, like just like my list or a lot of people's list, you have so many people that have influenced you listening to music, and I'm sure it's with most of these artists, like they're pulling that music from everywhere, again, like just different parts of their lives growing up. They may be into something, and then a few years later they get into this other genre of music, but it's all somehow influenced them. And that's what it's amazing about some of those artists, I think.
absolutely. So on the little questionnaire I sent you too, two different things. One is, are you drinking any beverages tonight? Now I can see in the Zoom meeting here, I can tell that you're sipping on something. So what are you drinking over there?
This is a spotted cow from New Glarus Brewing, which is out of Wisconsin. They only distribute in Wisconsin. So I actually had some friends that have family up there, and we were just talking one night at the house here, and they're not like really big into drinking, but um, somehow, I was bringing up spotted cow to them, and right before Thanksgiving, I get a delivery on my porch saying, Happy Thanksgiving, and it was a case of spotted cow from
Wow.
Wisconsin. So I think their family members must have come in, and, they went that extra mile to ask them, hey, if on your way, you know, into town, can you bring me a case of this beer? Because like I said, you can only get it in Wisconsin. They don't distribute it anywhere.
That's pretty
So
damn cool.
yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool of them, and yeah, and it's a great
Awesome.
beer. It's a really good beer.
See, now, are you going to have enough to share the next time we see each other in person, whenever the hell that may be? Actually, I'm going to probably answer that right now. My guess is going to be no, because there's no time frame on when the hell we're going to see each other in person again, right?
Yeah, that's true. We could always hang out in the driveway or something and have a few beverages.
There you go. Well,
A
we need.
little hard now with the weather.
I'm not hanging out in the snow and the cold though.
Right, that's what I said. Right now it's a little hard, but yeah.
The other one, other question I sent you is, would you be willing to do a few trivia questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Let's see
All
what you
right.
got.
So let's see here. So with your hat, you're rocking your Dave Matthews Band hat there, and that was one of your bigger influences. Let's see what kind of questions I can come up with. Now let's see if I can stump JG on a few music trivia questions here. So, first question. Can you give me the birthday of Mr. Dave Matthews himself?
The specific date I don't know, but I know he's January baby, and I think he's 1967. He was
You are
born.
correct.
Yeah.
January 9th,
Okay.
1967.
Nice.
That's cool. And what's funny is my son Aaron, his birthday is January 9th too.
Oh, nice.
How about
Yeah.
that?
How about that, dude?
Yeah. Question two. Can you tell me where Mr. Dave Matthews was born?
He was born in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think his dad was a military guy stationed there. Or maybe it was his mom. I can't remember. She might have been like a nurse in the military. Uh, Not sure about that, but anyways, I know he was born there, and they lived there before moving to Virginia.
Okay. I think I might be able to stump you on this question, but let's see if how well far back and how well you know some Dave Matthews stuff here.
Okay.
According to Dave Matthews Band legend, ready for this? Do you know or do you recall where the very first live show was performed at?
It was on a rooftop at Miller's Bar.
You got to be shitting me. It was at a rooftop building on a warehouse in Virginia. No shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
I'm impressed, JG.
Yeah. That's one of his greatest songs, The Warehouse, Warehouse.
Okay.
I thought it was, I know he worked as a bartender at Miller's Bar. That's where he met many of the musicians in the band with him. He bartended and on the side played, and a couple like Leroy Moore and I think Carter Buford were they were kind of like part of a house band there.
I thought I had you on that one.
Yeah, no.
Damn. All right.
Any more?
Let's give you another one here. This will be a lyrical question. All
Okay.
right. The lyric goes, I was there when the bear ate his head, thought it was candy. Can you tell me what song it was from? I was there when the bear ate his head, thought it was a candy.
That's is that Ants Marching?
Nope.
No, what is that? Oh, geez.
It's
It's
off
like
the Under the Table and Dreaming album. Time's up.
uh,
What would you say?
oh, it's what would you say? Okay.
All right.
You
Last,
got me, man.
I got you on one at least. Let's see if you can get this last question here. What was the only song that Dave Matthews Band won a Grammy for?
So much to say.
Very good. Wow. 4 out of 5 is not bad, right?
Yeah, it's not bad, I guess.
I'll give that to you. That's pretty cool. Awesome, man.
That's cool, man. Thanks.
Well, I won't keep you too much longer, but I do appreciate your time, JG, Jason Gonzales, coming on my Music Spectrum podcast. Hope you had some fun looking back at some memories, talking some music with me. And I would love to try to do this again because I know there's some other stories that you and I can tell, but I don't want to get into those yet. We'll leave them as a teaser. How about that?
That sounds great, Ron. Thanks for doing this again. It was fun. I would just tell everybody to go out there and support even local musicians. I've seen so many people. One guy I can think of named Kenny Kidd. I saw him in Put-in Bay at a bar on a Sunday. I remember my wife and I and a couple other people were up there, and we just walked into this bar. There was probably 15 people in it, and this guy named Kenny Kidd came out who has this little baby grand piano. Yeah, he's got this big afro and these rose-colored glasses and just in a head to toe in denim, like, just totally obscure. And the guy just played his lights out for 15 people, in the bar. He was almost like a Jerry Lee Lewis kind of guy. I mean,
Uh-huh.
he was pounding beer, playing with his foot, like the keys on the keyboard. I mean, it was amazing. But the point of that is just there's so many good musicians out there. It doesn't have to be somebody like that we know by name that are doing great things. And I would just say, go out there and support them, check them out, and you never know what you'll discover.
Awesome, man. That's a good point, and that's something good to remember everything by. And next time we sit down and talk, we'll get into local music because I know that there's another artist you have on your list here. It's a local guy, and we can get into next time. And also, you mentioned Put in Bay, the infamous Put in Bay experience that we had together with some of the other
Absolutely.
families. There was a pretty cool band we saw up there as well too. So next time we sit down and chat, we'll have to get into that adventure. How's that sound?
That sounds great, Ron.
All
Thanks for
right,
doing it.
JG, I appreciate you guys coming on. Once again, my name is Ron Glista. Thank you for listening to my Music Spectrum podcast. And we will get the next episode on here sometime soon. I got to find a guest. There's got to be somebody out there that's listening to this right now that wants to sit down and do a Zoom meeting with me and talk music. I don't know. If nobody answers me within the next day or two, I'm going to start texting people or calling them up personally and saying, hey, get on my show. Come sit and talk to me. It's not that hard. Ask JG, ask Mike. This is easy stuff. You just sit and talk music, drinking beer. So this is Ron Glissa signing off. Until next time, you guys have a good night. Have a Merry Christmas too, JG.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays.
I will
Happy
see you
New Year.
guys. Have a good night. Thank you.